Hello guys, welcome back to another video on the Stratus Forecast Weather Channel. In today's video we're going over the forecast for the next couple of weeks, and the forecast or the videos will remain daily from now on. I've just been, doing other stuff. But in today's video we're going over, first of all, the radar and satellite, then we'll get into the watches, warnings, and advisories. Then after that we're going to get into the future radar, which things do look pretty active through March as well, where things could actually warm up a ton actually, where we could see multiple huge, I would even call them pretty huge storms in general that could drag those temperatures up even higher than they are. I think we could also be talking about the potential for some severe weather going through portions of, probably not next week, but in the following week after that. But it all depends on the jet stream, the low-level jet stream, obviously, the amount of instability, moisture, stuff like that. But yeah, let's get right into it. So currently right now we're dealing with a little bit of a clipper system moving through portions of the Northeast and New England that is igniting some snow showers and rain showers across much of interior Northeast. A lot of these snow showers are really dependent on high elevation, so most of these are happening in portions of the northwestern mountains of Maine and portions near Ottawa and those higher elevations. But as we zoom in on this, some of this snow actually could be fairly decent rates at times. The darker blues or almost grays are indications of that heavier snowfall falling. Basically what this means is you basically be seeing some steadier and heavier snow rates. Also some rain, so that definitely tells us where the temperatures are. They're definitely above 32 degrees right now, which means we're probably going to be dealing with a mostly rain situation, but there will be some cold temperatures that do kind of try to fight that warm air down to the coastline, but we're not going to stay snow all the way down to the coastline tonight. It's going to be mostly inland from about the Millinock area all the way down through portions of the Northeast. It's probably going to be, it'll be hard to fight that cold and warm air right on the I-95 corridor, so I think you'll be dealing with mostly rain right around the I-95 corridor, but possibly behind this front we could also see some back-end snow showers, but we'll see how that plays out. Spotty rain showers are also possible across portions of Pennsylvania. And then we get that system that came through portions of Florida that actually had some isolated severe weather with it the other day. A lot of that severe weather is now off the coastline. It was mostly just a damaging wind threat and a tornado threat. We didn't really see much in the way of tornadoes, but I guess there was some sort of things going on. We saw some indications of water spouts, but not much than that. Also over in South Dakota, we actually had a tornado, confirmed tornado yesterday in portions of around just northwest of Sioux Falls, around that Brookings area. We saw a tornado, and I actually saw it on radar, but that is pretty much gone now, but it was able to produce a tornado. It's quite crazy how you go from negative degrees, almost, I'm not sure the exact temperature, but I'm assuming it's like negative, at least below negative 5 degrees. And we went from that all the way to having a tornado. That is pretty crazy. But obviously you can still have tornadoes in this type of weather, even if it is snowing. It's just depending on all other things going along with the atmosphere and stuff like that, and the amount of instability, but it's always possible. And across the Pacific Northwest, we're having those continuous atmospheric rivers producing more and more rain and snowfall. This will just lead to more snow, and some of that snow actually down up through portions of Seattle, Washington, and near that Skymoss, Washington area. Some of this snow could be heavy at times also. But yeah, now we're going to get to before that, it's pretty much dry across, the southeast throughout the Ohio Valley and back through the Great Lakes region, and also happening to be through the southeast and the western half of the country, so it's a pretty quiet pattern overall. Now we're going to get into the watches, warnings, and advisories that have been issued by the National Weather Service. Here's the current watches, warnings, and advisories. I did want to mention something. A lot of Pivotal Weather or something like that, they do not put up all the watches, warnings, and advisories. Is basically anything that you see down here, I guess. But right now we're dealing with some high wind watches and warnings across portions of the Central Plains and Upper Plains, followed by a red flag warning. Remember, this is for those fire weather conditions, probably some gusty winds in there, and some abnormally dry conditions. We're also dealing with some flood watches and warnings across the Pacific Northwest, and wind advisories, high wind watches, and probably even some warnings in there, and winter weather advisories. We're also dealing with a dense fog advisory back to portions of the deep south across the Gulf Coast between southeastern Texas, southern Louisiana and southern Mississippi. And right up the Mississippi River, there's actually some flood warnings. In fact, in some of these could be flash flood warnings as well. And then there's some isolated flash flood warnings back to portions of southeastern Georgia and southeast South Carolina. Alright, so now we're going to get into your Climate Prediction Center latest updates for the temperatures and precipitation. So this is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. It looks to me like, I don't think this is completely accurate, to be honest, because I feel like pretty much 95% of the country right now is dealing with above average temperatures, and this is through, well actually, sorry, this is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. So the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, I kind of agree with this at the same time, and I kind of don't at the same time, but we'll see how things play out. So this is valid from this is through the March 3rd into 7th, so not too far away. So there's an above average temperature chance for the extreme Pacific Northwest, the upper plains, backseat portions of the Central Plains, all the way down through Texas. This includes areas of the Great Lakes region, the Mid-Atlantic, even portions of the Northeast, not so much New England, but portions of the Northeast, Ohio Valley, back to the Deep South, as well as Southeast. And the most highlighted areas for the highest chance of seeing above average temperatures are going to be along the Gulf Coast, back to portions of southern Texas, southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and portions, and pretty much 85 to 90% of Florida. And the areas that could see below average temperatures are in the Southwest, specifically portions of the mostly California areas, with the Southwest California dealing with more of a higher chance of seeing below average temperatures, but also back to the Northeast, specifically Maine. Not so much western and southern Maine, but kind of central, northeast, down east, and portions of the northwest, and even portions of western and the mid-coast Maine. You're dealing with below average temperatures. Everywhere else you can see near normal temperatures. This covers pretty much the entire western half of the country, and a little bit of the eastern half of the country into portions of the northeast and New England and the mid-Atlantic. Here's your 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. This exists going from March 5th through the 11th. You can see a major difference here. It's now, you can see that the ridge forming here. You've got that warm air, and then you've got the cold air over here, but the warm air is starting to ridge up and build a ridge, which will eventually probably win over most of the United States, depending on exactly where things line up. But a large portion of the country, especially in the eastern half of the country, down to the Deep South and Southeast, dealing with near normal temperatures, even back to portions of the Upper Plains and Great Lakes region, all the way back to portions of, back to pretty much the entire central United States, to the Upper Plains, Southern Plains, and back to portions of Texas, dealing with above average temperatures possibly, and above average temperatures also, especially for southern Florida. And then you got that below average temperature chance for portions of the western half of the country, including areas through the Rockies, but mostly covering areas of California once again. And really you're also dealing with another bullseye for above average temperature chances through portions of extreme southeastern parts of New Mexico, and through portions of western portions of Texas as well. But yeah, near normal temperatures can be expected anywhere else. Also, you might have seen that, but there's also the very far areas of Maine, especially far northern areas of Maine, are also in a below average temperature risk. Here's the 3 to 4 weeks temperature outlook. I don't know if I really agree with this, to be honest, depending on seeing what the models, and after looking at the models, I don't really agree with this, but yeah. Anyways, Upper Plains, this covers a good chunk of the United States, actually. Central United States, Upper Plains, all the way back through Texas and the Southeast, have at least a slightly to around a 55 to 60% chance of seeing an above average temperature risk. Below average temperature risk is also in play for portions of the western half of the country, especially the western coast. This includes areas of western Washington, western Oregon, and western and northwestern parts of California. Here's a 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook. This pretty much I completely agree with, actually. Too much going on here. East Coast and West Coast dealing with above average precipitation for most areas. The two bullseyes happen to be right between Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee, as well as Kentucky. And the above average, also another bullseye right through the Rockies. Near normal precipitation can be expected through portions of the Upper Plains, Pacific Northwest, and the Southwest. And there's actually a little spot of below average precipitation risk for portions of almost southwestern portions of Texas, but more western portions of Texas. And then you can also see that near normal temperature risk through the southeast, including areas of Texas. Here's the 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook. Pretty much the entire East Coast dealing with above average precipitation. This basically rides up through the I-95 corridor, stretching. I don't know if the I-95 corridor stretches all the way through portions of Georgia and Alabama, but you basically can see the eastern seaboard is an above average precipitation risk. And that also includes areas of Florida as well. Only area that really won't probably see any above average precipitation can be southern Florida. Also, the West Coast is also dealing with above average precipitation for the next 8 to 14 days precipitation outlook. Most of the systems that you're getting along the western coast is atmospheric river events, mostly. And it does stretch back through portions of the, almost close to the Central Plains area, and then near normal precipitation risk for much of the country, including areas back to the Upper Plains, Great Lakes region, somewhat of the Ohio Valley, the Central Plains, all the way back through the Southern Plains and the Deep South, and then 2 spots of below average precipitation can be expected through the Great Lakes region and the Upper Plains, covering most of Minnesota, and back through Texas and portions, and another bullseye through the southwestern half of the country, including southwestern Texas, southeastern New Mexico, southwestern and southern parts of Oklahoma, and that's really that. And then this is looking beyond anything. This is a 3 to 4 weeks precipitation outlook. Again, this is by the Climate Prediction Center themselves. Kind of looks more of like a La Nina pattern, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong, but it looks more like a La Nina pattern. Northeast, pretty much the entire East Coast dealing with some sort of above average precipitation risk. The most above average precipitation risk, can be expected in portions of the bullseye. The bullseye would be the Ohio Valley, I feel like. But this stretches all the way back up to the Great Lakes, the western Northeast, somewhat of the Mid-Atlantic, and the Southeast as well. And this area does extend all the way as far west as Missouri, all the way back to portions of Mississippi, Georgia, and Alabama, or any way you want to put it. Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, and then pretty much almost 60% of the country is dealing with equal chances for precipitation. This covers pretty much the entire Upper Plains, somewhat of the Pacific Northwest, the Central Plains, portions of the western half of the country, the Southwest, the Southeast, and then the other areas of above average precipitation can be expected in the western half of the country, mostly covering the western seaboard. This includes areas of the Pacific Northwest where the bullseye would be extreme western and northwestern parts of Oregon and extreme western Washington. That would be the bullseye for the above average precipitation pretty much through this entire map, again, due to atmospheric river conditions. And then the below average precipitation risk can be expected through the Central Plains all the way back through the Southern Plains and Texas as well, which would pretty much be the extreme south and deep south. And then the below average precipitation risk for the bullseye would be pretty much the entire state of Texas, basically central and north central and southern Texas. First I want to go over the temperatures for the next couple of days or even weeks. This is kind of giving you a general idea of what you could see for temperatures across pretty much the United States, and you'll even be able to see areas in Canada as well, and portions of the Caribbean Sea. But here we go. So the temperatures will be on the rise, but I do think we'll get a little bit of a cool down. Most indications are coming from the models, but actually I think it's more of that pattern where we get a warm up than we get a cool down. But remember, for pretty much the entire months of January and pretty much all of February now have been colder than average. So I would almost consider, possibly a colder than average winter for much of the United States. Almost undoubtedly the Upper Plains and back to the Central Plains. That's almost undoubtedly going to be a below average temperature winter. But you kind of get the general idea with the La Nina pattern. This is kind of what you would expect. So again, temperatures, we're going to have a few days where we get a little bit warm. But notice, the cold air will kind of hold on. So it's going to be a little bit harder to exceed those temperatures more than like that 35-degree mark all the way up into Canada. But once you look at the year's model, you're going to be like, that's just crazy. Um, but yeah, I'm going to stick with the GFS model because I think it's a better idea of what could actually happen. Um, but I think we're going to see a few cold snaps. So I think we're going to have another warm day tomorrow. Highs, even through the northeast, could be between 30 and 40 degrees. I don't think they'll get much warmer than that. But also, you have to basically take in both other models as well. But colder air will, and then we'll have a few shots of cold air. One will be centered through the Great Plains and back to the interior northeast in New England. We'll have another one through Saturday. And actually, speaking of which, on Saturday there's a chance there's a little bit of a clipper system that pulls through the Canada area, pulls through the Great Lakes region and back to the northeast, where we could see either a snow or rain mix, and possibly just snow as well. But behind that front, there's likely going to be some cold air behind it that pushes through with the first Arctic blast in the last couple of weeks at least. Well, I wouldn't say the last couple of weeks, but, in the last couple of days, which will cover pretty much the entire northeast, mid-Atlantic, upper plains, and the Great Plains, Great Lakes region, and the Ohio Valley as well. And then that will eventually get basically getting taken over by warm air again, where we'll likely have a few warm days next week. Wednesday and Thursday look to be the warmest right now. I don't think we're going to get much warmer than 40 degrees across portions of the interior northeast New England. I think southern northeast and the mid-Atlantic have a decent shot to get at least between 45 and 60 degrees in some spots, but then we get a little bit of a cool down, and then we repeat the pattern all over again. But the GFS model kind of wants to hang on to that cold air, but once again, through the 13th, we're looking at the major warm-up, and the European model is also agreeing with this as well. This could be a huge warm-up, and at this point, again, I would call it a mild wave, but at the same time, this is almost a heat wave because this is some pretty overwhelming temperatures. And the bullseye seem to be southwestern Texas, where we could exceed highs all the way into the 90s, and Florida would not be shocked to hit 90 degrees either. But it does look like it will be an extreme warm-up through at least the mid-part, the first weeks, if not the mid-part of March as well, for pretty much the entire country. And this is pushing all the way up into Canada as well. Here's the European model, again, the ECMWF model. So again, just look at the difference between the two models right now. I haven't taken a look at the temperatures right now, but I got a good feeling it's a pretty decent tie between the European model and the GFS model. But it looks like we're going to get a few warm days. I think 46 degrees is a little bit overestimating it. But we'll have a warm day on Wednesday, another warm day on Thursday, and we get a little system that pulls through. It'll pull those temperatures. Wow. 50s all the way up through the upper plains and into Canada. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know about that. But Saturday and Sunday, we get a little system that pulls through. And then Sunday, we'll get that warm-up with that quick little clipper system, and I'll pull the temperatures cold behind it with likely a little bit of an Arctic blast. They probably won't get much below zero, maybe into portions of the interior northeast New England. Other than that, I don't see this, getting much colder than that. But the European model does want to go even more extreme with that. And then another warm-up through, is this next week, right? And then a little bit of a warm-up across the entire East Coast, where temperatures along the eastern seaboard and portions of Virginia, as well as North Carolina, could be in the 70s, which I'm pretty sure that will be record-breaking. And then after that, cold blast in play, and then you can see that warm air building in the east, and yeah, look at that, it just keeps on going. I guess we're just getting that temperature roller coaster once again. And obviously, with any temperature roller coaster like this, you're going to have some storms. And really, the only way you're going to get this temperature gradients to get higher than they have been is rounds of precipitation, also known as low pressure systems. Again, low pressure systems will be existent. They just won't be overly impressive, especially for the next couple of days. It looks like tomorrow, looks like Thursday into Friday, there's a decent chance of some decent snowfall accumulation across the Great Lakes region back to the northeast of New England. I think pretty much the I-95 corridor is going to be tucked in between snow mix and rain. But after that, behind it, there could be a few additional snow showers, and I would not even rule out a snow squall in portions of the interior northeast New England through Friday, especially somewhere there. And then another system pulls through Saturday and Sunday with a little bit of snow and mixed precipitation. I think the mixed precipitation would be more consolidated or mostly focused towards the coastline. But after that, things are quiet, at least for a few days. And then we get our first major storm through the 4th of March, which does look like it's going to drive in a lot of warm air, and it doesn't look like there's much high pressure systems that would block this system from going all the way up into Canada, but that does look like it's how it's going to play out. So it looks like severe weather could be definitely a pretty significant potential in the deep south, starting through areas of Texas all the way back to Georgia, and this risk could even get all the way down through Florida. It could be that extreme. And then I don't think this will be much of a rainstorm because I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing that intense squall line up and down the East Coast. I'm just not seeing it get all the way up to the Northeast. So I don't think the gusty winds would be that big of an issue, but I can definitely see some intense wind gusts, just nothing out of the ordinary. But it does look like this one will not even start its mix of snow. This will be just straight up rain for pretty much the entire Northeast and the Eastern Coast. The only areas that would really be seeing snow is that cold air behind the area of low pressure. You can see cold air. You'll see cold air right through the Great Lakes region and the Upper Plains and parts of the Central Plains as well, with a pretty decent snow banding on this cyclone. But it does look like that snow will stick around, and behind it there could be some additional snow showers and snow squalls, but that's how that looks. And then, yeah, I don't know about this. This is when we're getting too far out into the forecast where we're going to start seeing some random things like like this example, southeast snowstorms, just not probably going to happen again. It's very unlikely. We saw it once this winter. I don't think it's going to happen again, but it's always a potential, obviously. This one will probably bring some to the other portions of Florida, and then some snow and rain mix through at least portions of the deep south. And another clipper system kind of pulls through. And right behind that area of low pressure, this trough you're seeing right here, this big dip in the jet stream right here, that is cold air, which, if this was negatively troughed, I could see some snow showers getting extended into portions of the Northeast, but that does not look like it's going to happen. I think this area of low pressure might be a little bit too far off the coastline, but probably areas of the extreme southern New England shoreline, across areas of the mid-Atlantic, and especially areas of the Connecticut area, especially those islands, could see some light snow out of the system, but I don't see much happening yet. But then you can see that warm air building. Here comes the warm air, and with an area of low pressure like this, if it just goes straight northeast, this is going to drag those temperatures all the way up the eastern seaboard. And with that kind of system, oh man, we could easily break some records. But it looks like a relatively weak area of low pressure, but well, that's way too far out, so we don't have any idea if that's actually going to happen, but we'll see if it does. So here's the GFS model. Again, I'm leaning towards more the GFS model because I just think these temperatures are a little bit too warm for winter, which obviously we've seen record-breaking temperatures already this winter, not in the form of warm, but on the side of cold. So it does look like we'll see a few clipper systems to pull through. I think the GFS model does a general good idea with this snow in the Northeast, and then be kind of rain showers back to the Ohio Valley and back to the Mid-Atlantic, and then it'll switch over to snow in portions of the interior Northeast New England. That warm air will override that cold air, which means that mix line could get pushed up into the I-95 corridor, which means rain would be likely along the coastline. And rain showers could extend all the way from the main area all the way back to portions of the southeast. So that tells me that this is a decently, pretty long cold front, but at the same time, it's also not that impressive. This is not that strong of an area of low pressure. 995 is really not that strong. But then we get another cold system that pulls right through. This is what we've been seeing this winter. A lot of these different pattern changes and a lot of these different systems. This one will come through on Saturday and Sunday. It looks mostly snow with enough cold air in place, but it does look like that rain shower activity could get into portions of the southern New England as well. And then high pressure in control, not before another system to come through. The GFS model is actually a little bit farther south and east rather than the European model on this one. So this one could be a tight squeeze between, snow, sleet, freezing rain, and just plain rain. It looks like it's going to be a very tight window, but it does look like this could be a stronger system. And again, it does look like severe weather could be a potential across areas of the southeast. And with this particular model, it does look like the severe weather would exist through portions of Georgia and North and South Carolina before that area of low pressure kind of turns it into more of a nor'easter, but at the same time it's not really a nor'easter because it's a little bit too far inland. Or that the northeasterly winds, I don't think, are that impressive out of this one. But the pressure gradients at the same time do look pretty tight. And then another system to pull through looks like another snowstorm for the northeast. This is going way out to the 8th of March. It looks like northeast, the New England, southern New England could get a pretty decent snowstorm out of this. And then after that, oh man, it just keeps on going. So we're not done yet. So we'll go with the GFS model with a snowfall accumulation. Just notice the GFS model is going to bring that snow line a little bit farther south rather than the European model. So just take that into notice. So it's another one of those scenarios where we really don't know where the area of low pressure is going to track in general. But here's a general idea what we could see for snow, but as I mentioned before, a lot of that snow would be falling, and it could be a very hefty snowfall accumulation in portions of Canada, in the interior northeastern New England, specifically areas in northeastern and northern New York, pretty much the entire state of Vermont and northern New Hampshire. And then Maine could get a decent amount of snow, but areas that see that mixing in rain along the down east, not the down east, but the southern coastline, and this extends all the way back to the mid-Atlantic, you can definitely tell where that rain and snow line is. California mountains, you're seeing a lot of snow. Possibly, I don't even know how many feet that is, but 139 inches of snow, all I know is that is a lot of snow. But it does look like snow is definitely still going, so again, winter's not over yet. Here's the European model, as I mentioned before. I don't know about snow all the way down in the deep south, or even the southeast, but you get what I mean. It's bringing that snow at the same time a lot farther to the north, but at the same time a lot farther to the south. This would be the system that pulls through in the next couple of weeks, which when you see a snowstorm that's falling to the deep south 1 to 2 weeks away, just don't get all, super, anxiety aware of this, because this is very unlikely to happen. In fact, this is probably can be even expected not to happen. But it does look like most of the snow would be falling into the northeastern New England, especially interior northeastern New England. And it does look like that snow is going to be decently heavy through the western half of the country, mostly areas in the California mountains once again, and the Pacific Northwest. Here's the rainfall accumulation for at least the next couple of weeks, if not close to a month, if anything. A lot of the rainfall in this particular model is falling in the eastern half of the country. Pretty much the entire eastern half of the country is dealing with excessive rainfall accumulation. And in the California area where areas need to see rain, even in areas of southwestern California where they really need to see rain, could be, looking at a solid inch to 2 inches, potentially even closer to 3 inches in some spots. And the Pacific Northwest will be dealing with quite a bit of different rainfall as well. So, and a lot of this if you're looking around the I-95 corridor, you basically, a lot of this rain, like in this region and back through this portion of the Great Lakes region, you're dealing with snow, so it's a lot of snow. That's easily 2 feet of snow right there. Here's the GFS model as far as rainfall accumulation goes. Again, much of the same thing. Looks like entire country is going to be dealing with much needed rainfall. And the southwest, oh my god, that's a lot of rainfall. But also, this area, this kind of stripe of area here in the California mountains, that is snow. Just a little disclaimer there, that is snow. But anything along the western half of western coastline of California dealing with rain. So a lot of rain will be falling in these areas. In areas only that will likely not be seeing any rainfall, probably Texas, New Mexico, especially southeastern New Mexico and eastern New Mexico, as well as western Texas. And obviously Mexico doesn't get much rainfall either. And extreme southeastern California and extreme southwestern portions of at least southwestern portions of Arizona. On to the severe weather threat. Obviously, it's quite a ways out, so we can't really tell exactly what's going to happen. But here's the potential severe weather threat. So notice, the GFS model does have this system a little bit farther to the east. And with that being said, it doesn't look like much of a severe weather threat there. But the jet stream could be a little bit tighter. But the European model is a much different story. So as we go through, it shows a strong line of thunderstorms on Tuesday the 4th of March through at least the 6th of March with a nice strong cold front. So let's take a look at the severe weather things. So here's the wind shear. Again, wind shear is good for convective organizing the thunderstorms obviously, but it's also good for rotating thunderstorms as well. So here it is. So this goes through the 4th. It looks like a very strong jet stream. Look at this. Very strong jet stream. And right where that thunderstorm lines up, right where that thunderstorm lines up, look at this. We're dealing with a string of 90 to 110 knot winds, which is easily over 100 and, say between 115 and 120 mile per hour sustained winds, and this is the low level jet. So this is definitely going to amplify the storm risk. So the storms we'll have to watch out for is obviously in another week or two, or at least another week, the 4th through the 6th will be a severe weather threat, along with the winter storm threat as well, which looks like a strong line of thunderstorms would pull through the deep south. Also, on other systems, it's too early to call, and plus the systems are all over the place. Both the models are so confused of where the actual track of these areas of what pressure is going to be, so that's really that. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and yeah, lots of more weather to cover. We got probably multiple winter storms in the near future, but yeah, yeah, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.